let's be real for a second. You don't actually want a convertible here in India, right? It's just not worth the hassle. And I'm not talking about a supercar, the sort of 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 crore thing that probably lives in a hermetically sealed laboratory of a garage. No. I'm talking about something far more attainable, realistic. Because if it's not the heat, it's the cold. If it's not the cold, it's the rain. But even if you do manage to find the right weather, then comes the dust and the smog and the pollution and the noise and the smell. Honestly, you're probably better off with a nice fast coupe, right? But here's the thing, convertibles do have their own appeal. You get the wind in your hair, and of course you get to show off just a little bit. But for a convertible to make sense in this harsh world of ours, it really has to be convincing. Enter the BMW M440i, a convertible that promises to deliver just a little bit of everything. Now, as the name might suggest, M440i is related to M340i. Yep, it's the two-door version of the fabled and much loved M340i. Uses the same engine, the same basic chassis, except it's a two-door, it's a convertible, and it's based on the 4 Series, so it's got a different face. And well, about that. Yes, this is a 4 Series, so it gets the controversial buck-toothed beaver-faced grille we've previously seen on the M4 and i4. People say they've gotten used to it by now, but that doesn't stop it from being objectively ugly. Luckily, this M440i has other design elements that help distract you from it, like big air dams and sportier bumpers. They've replaced all the chrome and grey cladding with gloss black, including on the mirrors and rear bumper. And the headlamps are smoked too. There's the same handsome set of 19-inch alloys you get on the M340i, and my favorite detail, intricately designed LED tail lamps with laser light elements. With a lot of two-door 4-seat convertibles, the proportions do go off and the rear can look bulky, but I think they've managed to avoid that with this car, and that's nice. Now, there's some things you need to know about driving a convertible with the roof down and all the windows open. The AC is kind of useless. It's basically cooling your knuckles because there's no cabin to cool. You're basically cooling the entire world. And when you do drive around with the roof down and the windows down, especially in a city like Mumbai, you are a little bit exposed. People who stop close by to you might be able to see and hear some of your embarrassing music. So yeah, all things considered, if you have a convertible, I think it goes without saying, you better be an extrovert. And if, like me, you're in the habit of just dropping your bags in the back seat and driving off, I wouldn't be surprised if in this town, somebody at a traffic light would just swipe it while you aren't looking. It's a harsh world we live in. But there is one very, very good reason to get this particular convertible, and its name is B58. Find yourself a tunnel like we have now, drop a couple of gears and disappear. The B58 in this M440i delivers 374 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque. And that, let me just tell you, is plenty. And the sound it makes, it's not that boisterous, loud, barking roar of a V8, of course. But then it's not the sort of limp-wristed gurgle of a 4-cylinder either. And that's something BMW really wants to drive home, especially given its main chief rival, which does use a 4-cylinder. I think you know which one I'm talking about. That being said, I do wish it was louder. With the roof up, you can barely hear it, so you will really want to drop the top to get the most out of this B58. But it's not just the noise, because there's a certain smoothness with which this straight six delivers its power. It's got a broad rev range, it's enjoyable to see it all the way to the red line, and it is absolutely silky smooth. I see what all the memes are on about now. And even though this car, being a convertible and all, is a full 165 kilograms heavier than its M340i sedan sibling, you really can't feel it from behind the wheel, I promise you that. And in fact, BMW claims it has the same 4.9 second 0 to 100 kph time as the sedan. But guess what? In our testing, we managed to record a 0 to 100 time of just 4.4 seconds, and the conditions weren't even ideal. Another classic case of BMW underrating its car's performance. It too comes with the safety net of xDrive all-wheel drive, but if you've driven an xDrive before, you know that that's really primarily rear-wheel drive with a little bit of front-wheel drive to save you in a pinch. Like all good BMWs, it's also got 50-50 weight distribution. And I can assure you it feels just as sharp and chuckable as the M340i in most everyday driving situations. You'd have to ring them both out on a racetrack back to back to pick out the differences between the two. And now, if you're not convinced yet, I know what you're thinking. A lot of cars look good, go fast, make a nice noise, and have a bit of flash and show off value. But what makes this even more of a total package? It's practical too. For one, it comes as standard with BMW Sport adaptive dampers, and I'm not kidding, it makes a world of a difference. Knock it out of sport mode and into comfort, and it is as civilized as a 3 Series. The ride, even on these 19-inch wheels, is genuinely good. It actually rides better than some luxury sedans. I can't believe I'm saying that. BMW India doesn't quote a ground clearance figure, and it does look pretty low, but it also has a reasonable 2.85 meter wheelbase, so with a little caution, it'll clear most speed breakers just fine. And I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but putting it in comfort also makes that B58 engine settle down. It's quiet now. The performance is there. It's just a little bit delayed. But the 8-speed automatic is smooth. I can hear myself speak, and I could probably have a conversation too. So suddenly it's turned from this rocket ship into a car that you might actually be able to daily. It's even got a pair of back seats, and again, when you see a pair of back seats in a two-door car, they're probably just a write-off. I mean, in a car of these dimensions, you'd think probably not even for kids. But guess what? As long as your driver is about the same size as me, there's actually usable room back here. And believe it or not, its boot is 10 liters larger than the M340i's. Though given its shape with the housing for the roof, in real world use, it's nowhere near as practical. Plus, you don't get a spare tire, just a puncture repair kit. Now, as with most modern cabriolets, you can open it while on the move, but bear in mind you have to be under about 45 kph in order to do that. There we go. The good news is, once you do that, it is truly like being in a coupe because you're very, very well insulated. I'm kind of impressed. This is a fabric cover, let me just remind you. Well, hell, you're out for a drive at night in a convertible, taking the top back down. Now, I know I started this drive with a bunch of doom and gloom about convertibles, and yes, it is a bit of an inconvenience for how much money you're spending. But the simple fact is, there's a certain joy that comes from open top motoring that you can't really replicate with anything else. Like right now, the sea is by my side, and even though it's low tide and it's a little bit stinky right now, it's such a joy. And even if only for a late night cruise with that someone special, or a Sunday morning drive with the boys, that little extra bit of joy that a convertible would bring you may be totally worth it. I have somewhat mixed feelings about the interior design though. This is that sort of in-between space between the new generation BMWs, which are not great in themselves, and the old generation BMWs. So some of that goodness is there. You find a few physical controls like the volume knob, which I love, as well as the iDrive rotary controller, which even after all these years, I instinctively go for as my number one way of controlling the screen. Believe it or not, it is still the most intuitive thing around. But then just this whole widescreen, touchscreen layout, it just doesn't look sporty or exciting anymore like BMWs of old used to. I'm just being nostalgic perhaps because this is, all things considered, a pretty great touchscreen. But it just kind of doesn't fit the aesthetic anymore. More than that though, it just looks exactly the same as a 3 Series on the inside, and in a convertible, I think you'd want something a bit more special. There's lots of storage, it's very high quality, the sports seats are comfy and supportive, and you can even choose from 3 interior upholstery colors. But it just lacks that wow factor, and that's something its main rival, the Mercedes-Benz CLE Cabriolet, does much better. On that topic, we don't know the price of the M440i convertible at the time of filming, but we hope they price it on the right side of the 1 crore mark. So yeah, the BMW M440i xDrive, it does promise a lot, but it does deliver a lot too. It's fully loaded to the gills with features. It's comfortable, it's powerful, it's fun to drive, it looks great, and it sounds great. The M340i was a bit of a giant killer. It made cars like even its bigger sibling, the M4, seem a bit excessive and a bit not worth the money. And you know what? This M440i Cabriolet, it does that too.